Hi, I'm Michael. Today, I'm going to show you how I moved the dust collection system to the basement, which drastically cut down on noise and dust in the shop. Let's get started. We have a lot of technology and tools, so dust collection is a high priority in our wood shop. However, space is tight, so I decided to move our dust collection system to the basement. Alright, so step one is putting the casters on. So we're just assembling the hardware, and then I'm gonna go and put the casters on. We share our tools on the weekends with numerous other people and wanted to make sure we could use all of our tools at the same time. So we got 3 of the cheap Wen dust collectors on Amazon. For most shops, just one of these would be sufficient. When I opened the box, there were a lot of little parts and it was a bit daunting. However, it went together pretty easily and had very complete instructions. All in all, it took about 30 minutes to assemble each dust collector. I will put a link to them in the video description. Our larger tools like the bandsaw and drum sander have standard 4-inch ports for dust collection, but our smaller sanders all had different size ports. So I 3D modeled an adapter so that they could all easily link to a standard 2.5-inch tube into the new dust collection system. These parts are pretty machine specific, but I'll still put everything I modeled for this project in our Thingiverse page, linked in this video description, where you can download and 3D print them yourself for free. Alright, so it's the next day, and we have our finished prints. They're looking pretty good. I modeled these connectors longer than needed so that I could individually cut them down to a comfortable length for each machine. At this time, I also connected 4-inch tubing to the machines that already had a 4-inch dust port. Next, I designed the floor connector. This needed to fit on top of a 4-inch hole drilled into the floor, and added a flange to cover any potential gap between the floor and the part itself. A 4-inch hose will easily connect to either side of this connector, and this same part can be used through a ceiling or a wall. The file for this is also linked in our Thingiverse account. Drilling the holes in the floor was the most nerve-wracking part of this, because I didn't want to accidentally hit one of the joists down below. So I started by drilling a small hole, and then passing a dowel through to verify that my spacing was right before drilling the larger hole. Alright, and there's the dowel that we threw through the hole, and now we just need to look up and try to find the actual hole itself. And it's looking like it's right there. You can see this piece of insulation that seems to have pushed out. That's probably from the dowel coming through it. So let's pull down that piece of insulation and see what we have. Nope, not there. No, it's all the way over here. Luckily, this went pretty smoothly, and I was able to get through this without making a mess of the floor. To secure the floor connectors, I drilled 4 holes into each connector and then used deck screws to screw them directly into the floor. This felt like it would be more than secure enough. I then popped back down to the basement and secured a couple pieces of plywood to mount the IVAC control switches to. I then securely attached 4-inch tubing to the bottom half of the floor connector After securing the ductwork underneath, I took a piece of copper wire and used a brass screw to screw it all the way through the connector piece. I then grounded each one of these to nearby copper piping so the airflow wouldn't build up a static charge. This is very important because otherwise the sawdust, mixed with electricity, can cause a fire or even an explosion. I attached the other side of the tubing that was now coming out of the ceiling directly to the dust collectors, and then turned my focus in the basement to prepping the IVAC controllers. The controllers are pretty easy to set up. There's a series of dip switches inside that you adjust to set the machine number, and then on the corresponding machine you set the tool number so it knows which collector to turn on, and can also open any blast gates that are needed as well. In our case, we used different collectors and skipped the blast gates to maximize the airflow. All in all, it took about 2 minutes to program. I switched the controller to the on position to verify that everything was in working order. I then switched it to auto, which is where it will stay. Upstairs, I connected the machines to the new dust ports in the floors, and then set the tool numbers on the IVAC remote so they would turn the right collector on when the tool is used. These devices are pretty cool. They simply clamp down on the electrical cord for the machine and sense the change in electrical current. When it senses that the current is increased, it triggers the dust collector to be turned on. So let's turn on the bandsaw, run a board through, and you can see it in action. So we've been living with the dust collection system for about 3 months now, and it has been a huge improvement over the system that we had before. The new dust collectors have a lot more CFM, and as a result, cut down the dust in a huge way. Even when we're using the drum sander, we don't even need to wear a mask at this point, which is fantastic. It's much quieter in the shop without the sound of the dust collectors, and it does help to contain any mess from the dust collectors into the basement, which makes it a lot easier to keep up with and clean. Since we have a small shop, it has also opened up the footprint of the shop and made it so that we could really lay out the tools in a way that's very effective for us. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video or found any of this information helpful, click subscribe. Until